So thanks everyone for joining us on today's webinar on delivering simple virtual workspaces and ensuring end-to-end security with Nutanix and ZeeTim. So today I'm Omar Kechrid, VP of Business Development. We've got with us Sabir Tapory, who's also from ZeeTim. He's the Chief Technical Officer. He's also the founder of the company and very he's one of, in my opinion, he's one of the gurus of the EUC space, and also Yangzhi Zhao from Nutanix, who looks after the Nutanix Frame product. So really looking forward to learning about two amazingly complementary solutions today. And also seeing how one can tackle the challenge of having to provide users an easy way to access their work and doing their work from anywhere. All right, so today on today's agenda, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that we're facing, in terms of remote and hybrid work. More people are being forced to work hybrid. A lot of people don't want to go back to the office. So how do we support these users? This was obviously something that was expanded with the COVID pandemic, and we're still not out of it even today. So we'll talk about these challenges. We'll talk also about Frame. So Z is going to take us through the Nutanix Frame, show us this brilliant solution that they have, and then we'll also look at the ZeeTim Endpoint Management Solution. So ZeeTim looks after the last mile. What about the endpoint that you access Nutanix Frame with? And then we'll look at the entire solution. We'll see a demo. We want to keep this interactive, so please go ahead and ask any questions throughout the presentation. And we can address these as we go along, or we can also address them at the end. But yeah, so regarding the challenges in terms of remote and hybrid work, so I'm sure you guys remember when the pandemic first hit, no one would have ever thought that we'd have so many people working from home. You'd have the occasional experience of having to work from the house, and back then, accessing via VPN, using your local desktop. It was okay, to do every once in a while, but not the best experience, not the most secure. So being that people had to go outside of the local area network, a lot of challenges came about for IT departments. And from our standpoint, what we saw was a lot of challenges from security perspective, how to make sure that devices are secure, the company data is secure. How do you manage or how do you support the users that are somewhere, sometimes, hundreds of miles or thousands of miles away? How do you provide them proper support if they're not within a distance that you can actually meet with them? And also ensuring a smooth user experience. So users, they have to do this on a daily basis. They have to be able to be productive. So how do you give them the environment to ensure that? So these are some of the challenges that we noticed. Z, I don't know about you. Maybe there's a few that you that you noticed as well that are worth mentioning.
Yeah, I think we come from different ends of this same spectrum, right? In terms of customers and what they were looking for. I think at the very beginning of the pandemic, it was kind of like a little bit chaotic. It was kind of a mass grab just to issue VPN tokens out there and get those out there. That was a big challenge. It was really just getting having the access infrastructure to be able to support a massive increase in users who are obviously from internal to external. There's always been challenges with application licensing, right? A lot of the applications out there, software out there is tied to a specific device or tied to a specific user. So being able to manage the complexities there was also quite a bit of challenge. And then I would say beyond the scramble for VPN access, beyond the scramble for getting just laptops and purchasing them, I would say it's also just ensuring that users still had a really consistent experience, right? when they were at home or in their office, and that was probably some of the biggest challenges. And that's why we had the DaaS space in general, the desktop as a service space in general, had a huge increase in interest among customers. So and Frame was no different.
Yeah, and I think Frame is one of the companies that made VDI attainable for a lot of companies. Before it was kind of limited to larger companies. It was very expensive. You had a lot of infrastructure to put in place. But with something like Nutanix Frame, it's very easy to get that set up. And people were looking for the quick, how do I, as quickly as possible, be able to deliver such desktops? So I think when you present Z, what we're gonna, some of the attendees today will get to see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think also one point to mention that in the early pandemic days, I think it was about just give me a solution. Now it's trying to perfect that solution and giving the users the best experience possible.
100% agreed. Yeah, I think once folks settled down and they were able to come up for air a little bit, the focus then really shifted. Okay, how do we hybrid work is here to stay, right? We all know that this is really going to be the model, moving forward. And the question now becomes is, how do we not only continue to make it a really consistent user experience, but how do we make it a secure solution, right? When you talk about VPN access and stuff like that, the years that was really only meant to, in the very beginning, from accessing HQ data center resources from a secure, branch office, right? And that has sort of expanded very, very quickly and kind of got out of control over the last, 3 decades or so. But now that, we're all working from home, we're working from different locations, it's about how do you turn that endpoint asset, right, into a low value target, right? So that if that device is lost or that device where, a user, displaces that device, wherever it may be, or, you can't really treat somebody's home as a secure location from a business and InfoSec perspective, right? Somebody else can actually access the device. So how do we make that device a low value target? And that's been on the top of many CTO and CIOs' minds as we move ahead in this hybrid work environment.
Certainly. So security is a big thing, and also the now user experience. If you make it better for the users than it was before, it's much easier to get that adoption. So why virtual workspaces? And I think in your portion of the presentation, Z, you're going to go into this, but the main reason why virtual workspaces just is a better approach than that VPN local desktop type of setup. Mainly you're centralizing everything. You have more control. The IT department has control. It's desktops and apps are easier to manage, easier to back up. The security posture, the data protection posture is much better, and the user experience is going to be night and day. I mean, I have my mother actually works for a nonprofit, and I see how she connects via VPN and then turns on that old application that she uses. It's just a non-intuitive process, and it's when you see how Frame works, it's going to be it's like night and day. So the other thing is it's never been easier to set up the underlying infrastructure with different cloud options that we have, and also how even with the underlying infrastructure that Nutanix offers, for instance, with their hyperconverged, it's very easy to manage it. So it's kind of like having a public cloud, but you own it. It's on premises. So now that we talked about the advantages of VDI and DaaS, and Z is going to go into that in more detail. What about the endpoint? The endpoint. From what we see, many companies, even after they go to VDI or DaaS, they continue to use heavy operating systems that require management, that require patching, that require antivirus. They're not the most secure. So there is a better way. So what we propose as ZeeTim, and we'll dive into it in more detail, is a secure Linux-based operating system that requires very little maintenance. We like to say in the thin client world, we want dumb terminals. And in this case, dumb is a good thing. You know, you want a device that just you don't have to worry about. It's like a keyboard and mouse. You just place it wherever the user might be. You can send the configuration to it and never have to deal with it more than that. And then it's also tuned and specifically built for that virtual workspace. So no duplication of effort. You don't want to do the same things that you're doing for your desktops. You know, we love Windows, but let's keep Windows centralized on the in the cloud in the server. So with that said, let's dive into Nutanix Frame, Z.
Awesome. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please, if you could. I think you can just go ahead and share.
No, I think you have to stop sharing. And then, yep, there you go. I can share mine now. Perfect. It is. Cool. All right. Can you see my screen?
1 second. Now I do, yes.
All right. Perfect. Yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about Frame, desktop as a service. Won't go into like an extraordinary amount of detail, but certainly want to give you guys all, especially folks who are newer to DAS, newer to Frame, kind of overview of what the solution is all about and how we differentiate, because there are a lot of solutions, like Frame on the market, and it's kind of hard to kind of pick and choose. So I'll really highlight some of the key differentiators that our solution really puts out there into the market. So Frame, we're a software as a service solution. So you can think of us in the same light as a Workday, as a ServiceNow, as a Salesforce. The difference is that what we're delivering is we're delivering a platform that allows our customers to deliver a Windows application or a full Windows desktop to any device with just a browser, or through the Frame app, like we use with ZeeTim devices. That is a Linux-based application. At the end of the day, it's still a browser. We're wrapping that with Chromium and stuff, and to deliver a very seamless experience, whether you're using the Frame app or the browser. But any device with that browser capability of the Frame app, like ZeeTim devices, would work with Frame. And how we differentiate is that we are a true hybrid multi-cloud desktop as a service solution. So our control plane, and that control plane is handling all the orchestration with your environment. It's integrating with your private, hybrid, or public cloud infrastructure. So with Frame, you can deploy your workload VMs, and those are the VMs that are hosting your user sessions. Those can be deployed on-prem in your private data center on Nutanix, AOS, and AHV. You can also deploy in a true hybrid cloud capacity with Nutanix NC2, which is basically running AOS and AHV on bare metal AWS, and in the very near future, Azure as well. Or you can deploy just natively onto Paygo, EC2 instances, Azure instances, GCP project IDs, right, directly with your public cloud of choice. Or you can do all four, right? So you have that capability with Frame. And when we talk about hybrid multi-cloud, that's really our, the reality for our users and our customer base. This is a split in terms of all the VMs that are under management by Frame today. And we started off with AWS when Frame launched in 2013. We added support a couple years later for Azure. When Frame was acquired by Nutanix in 2018, we added support for AHV, and that's been a very obviously rapidly growing platform of ours. And then most recently, we added support for GCP in the last couple years, and that's also been growing, especially in the SLED education space for Google. And it's a really good split. And then we do have a lot of our customers. I actually ran the numbers. About 15% of our customers run in a true hybrid capacity, meaning they have more than one infrastructure in their Frame environment. In terms of how it works, pretty straightforward. Pick your infrastructure, pick one, pick multiple, bring that with you into your Frame tenant. You bring your applications. We have a couple of ways of doing that. You can either bring your own image, Windows 10, Windows Server OS, Ubuntu, with all your applications already installed, and you would simply install the Frame components and services on that VM, and then bring that with you into your Frame environment. Or you can start with one of our image templates and build your applications on top of that from there. You would then connect your identity providers. So you can, we are primarily integrating with SAML-based IDPs. We also integrate natively with Google OAuth. And we also integrate with through our APIs. So a number of different ways you can authenticate your users into the platform. So whether you're using Active Directory, it'll be through ADFS, Azure AD, Okta, Ping, those will all be supported with Frame today. And then you connect your data. So whether it's on-prem, file servers, running on Windows file servers, or if you're using Nutanix Files or any other third-party solution, You can bring those into your Frame environment as long as whatever VNet, VPC, or VLAN you're deploying to has access to those resources. And the same thing with your public cloud storage connectors, right? So OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, those will all be supported with Frame. And then lastly, because we are a browser first solution, you simply point your users to a URL. They will log in with that IDP that you configured, and they'll be good to go. So key benefits of Frame, kind of highlight again simplicity first and foremost. Making it not only simple for the end users to access and consume and interact with their Frame hosted applications or desktops, but also make it really easy and simple for administrators to not only initially deploy it and design it, but also manage it long term. And really, we are targeting customers that don't have years and years of VDI experience, right? Like with traditional VDI like Citrix or Horizon. We really want to target customers that are greenfield to this space. And how we design our product is very much in line with a lot of automation driven by APIs, right, to make it really simple for our customers to set up and also maintain the solution long term. Flexibility, kind of talked about that already. In terms of public cloud, you're not locked into a specific infrastructure. Over the years, I've talked to a lot of customers, especially in the age of public cloud, where you'll talk to a customer one day and they'll be like, "Oh, we're 100% on-prem," and then a month later they get a new CTO, they're 100% in AWS. 2 years later, they have a new CTO that's all in on Azure, and they flip to Azure. So being able to adapt to your organization's changing overall strategic direction when it comes to infrastructure is also very important with Frame. And then lastly, evergreen solution. So our platform is maintained and upgraded automatically for you as a service by Nutanix. You would still be responsible as a customer for maintaining your gold images, updating the OS, on those images, applications, so on and so forth. But the platform itself is kept evergreen for you by Nutanix. So I'll talk about some of the key features. I'll start with the UX side of things. So from a user experience perspective, we are the only DaaS solution on the market to standardize on WebRTC for delivery of our protocol. It is an H.264 based protocol. It is proprietary to Nutanix. And we're using WebRTC because it allows us to do things like what I'm doing right now, which is I'm running a Frame session on my device, right? And that is, I'm passing the video and audio conferencing traffic directly into the VM itself. So it's all natively done in session. So WebRTC gives us those capabilities to do audio and video sync and really deliver a HD type of experience through that session. We have our Frame Launchpad, which is what you see here on the screen. This is kind of our built-in user portal with Frame. This is, you don't have to use this, but for customers that don't have an existing user portal for accessing resources, you can certainly use Launchpad, and that's what the majority of our customers do. You'll notice at the very bottom of this list, we also have things like Frame launch links. Oops, back one slide. Frame launch links. So if you are, let's say, a big Okta shop, or you are a Workspace 365 customer, and your users are already familiar to go logging into a specific user portal, you can actually take any Frame resource, whether it's a desktop application, convert it into a launch link, which is essentially a URL, and basically publish that URL onto your existing portals, so that you can access Frame resources from a experience that your users are already familiar with. So we're talking about streamlining the onboarding process with Frame. That's kind of what we're talking about as well. In-session video conferencing, like what we're doing right now. I said we're browser first, so things like seamless printing. One of the big challenges with legacy VDI solutions is managing print drivers, whether installing native drivers in the session itself, or you use like a universal print driver solution. With Frame, we keep it very simple. You could do that if you wanted to, but by doing native printing and passing that printer into the session. But we also have browser-driven capabilities like frame printing, which essentially what we do is we take any print job, we convert it into a PDF document, we stream it down to your endpoint device, and we leverage a local endpoint device print configuration to print that document. So it makes it really easy for administrators to not have to worry about managing printing on the VM itself. All they have to do is make sure that, hey, if you're using a corporate device, you set it up on the corporate device, right? Or if a user is using like a BYO device, they already have it kind of set up on their own. 4K support, which is what I'm using with this session, 60 frames per second. Session roaming, be able to, start your session, on your ZeeTim device, migrate it to your iPad later on, whatever you need to do. Those capabilities are built into Frame. We also have very deep integration with the progressive web apps through Google. You can take any, again, Frame resource and convert it into a PWA and have that PWA be available to you on multiple devices. All right, on the admin side, single pane of glass from a control plane perspective, it's a hosted control plane. This is where you would make all your changes to your Frame environment. Again, that control plane is hosted for you as a service by Nutanix. Support for over 100 public cloud regions, including gov clouds, 70 plus instance types today that we support. We're always adding more across our public cloud infrastructures. And if you're deploying on-prem on Nutanix, AOS, and HV, you can basically create whatever instance types you want, and even add vGPU profiles to them if need be. We have both stateless and stateful workload VM support, so you can do persistent and non-persistent desktops, very common in this space. What's really cool about Frame is that from the same gold image, you can have multiple gold images, what we call sandbox VMs, within your environment. But from the same sandbox VM, you can actually allocate different resources to different users and user groups without having to manage separate gold images. So you can say, hey, user group A, you guys get 2 vCPU, 4 gigs of RAM, but user group B, which may be a bunch of developers, we're gonna give you 4 vCPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and maybe a GPU card, right? So that kind of capability, again, making it very streamlined, reducing the operational overhead, for maintaining an environment like this is very important with Frame. We also want to provide a lot of flexibility in all aspects, and that includes things like Active Directory domain join. So you can join your VMs to your AD domain if you want to, or you can leave them non-domain joined, or you can have a mix of both. So the latter is really, we've seen that a lot, especially for a third-party contractor, like BPO use cases, where right now a lot of customers have to build like a DMZ AD domain, for example, for these resources, because they have to integrate with Active Directory with whatever VDI or DAS solution. But with Frame, you can do a non-domain joined VM, and they can actually bring their own IDP if they really wanted to and access those resources. So the flexibility is there. And yeah, everything within Frame, we have our admin and session API. So for those customers out there that like to take automation to the next level, just know that we both have APIs both for the admin environment with Frame as well as the session user interaction. Those are all available through APIs. All right, last slide I have here is our platform architecture. So I'm not going to go into detail in terms of this architecture, but in the middle, that's our cloud control plane. So this is what's hosted for our customers as a service. Our cloud control plane sits in AWS today across multiple availability zones for HA and uptime. And that's, again, handling all the orchestration, the identity management of your users. It's connecting to your various infrastructures. On the left would be your public cloud infrastructure, right? AWS, Azure, or GCP, or hooking in directly with their API gateways to manage those subscriptions. And then on the private cloud side, it'll be Nutanix AOS, HV, and now we basically hook in directly with Prism, and that is through a Cloud Connector appliance, or the CCA, which is a Linux-based appliance that would sit on your HV clusters. And yeah, everything else in terms of, again, the consoles that the users interact with, which is called Launchpad, the dashboard, which is what admins interact with, are all hosted, as a service. So with that, let me actually kind of just show you what Frame's all about. So this is my Frame session, right? So this is, let me get rid of that email. There you go. So this is a Frame session. So I'm running, Zoho through Frame, right? I can't really show you my endpoint because, I'm actually in the session itself. But if I were to go ahead and let's say, but where's my IP address, right? You'll see that this is running in Microsoft Azure West US 2. That's where this VM is being hosted. This is a Windows 10 VM. I'm based in Denver, and you guys can't see my Frame toolbar, but it's about a 50 millisecond round trip latency between Denver and Microsoft Azure, right? But through here, we can do things like, let me go ahead and go to YouTube. We'll look at the new Top Gun trailer. turn on the volume a little here. And obviously this is through Zoho, so you'll see some delays in here. But through here, we're going to run this in 1080p, right? There it is, 1080p. And this is the type of experience you can expect with Frame. Obviously, I'm not sure from how Zoho handles showing multimedia traffic, but this is in 1080p. This is in 60 frames per second, and all delivered through a VM that's sitting in the cloud, right? Which is what Frame is all about. I can actually show you also the admin console real quick before I turn things back.
If I remember correctly, when I started hearing about Frame, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, it was a lot about a lot of people were using it in conjunction with AutoCAD. It was all the graphics were a big part of what attracted people to Frame.
Absolutely. How we first started with Frame was really around ISV use cases. So that's kind of how we got our starts, and that was really taking things like Autodesk, things like Adobe applications, and essentially turning them into a web app overnight, right? And that was, a lot of ISVs still use Frame today for things like beta testing. Jostens, who if you're in the States and you have a kid, in school, chances are they're using Jostens for their yearbook production. All Jostens customers, use Frame today to basically do their yearbook design. It's basically hosted Adobe, applications that they rebrand as Monarch. But yeah, use cases like that are very, very common in Frame. That's definitely how we got our start. Or like when Frame launched, it was actually launched the day that AWS released their first GPU-enabled EC2 instance, which is G2X large. And when that instance released into GA, Frame released into GA, with that. So let me go into my org, and I'm using this account right now. And you'll see this is my current session right now that I've been starting about an hour ago. And this is, again, in Azure. So we're running this in Azure in WestUS 2. And this is what the Frame control plane looks like. So if you are an end user, you would see something like this with Launchpad, which again, I'm already in sessions. I'm not going to steal my session. This is what your users will see, either a desktop icon, or if you're giving them access to, let's say, just individual applications, you will see a application icon. If you are a admin, what you'll see is that when you click on your name in the upper right hand corner, you'll see a link to the admin console or the dashboard. This is only available again for admins. If you're a regular user, you would not see these options, but dashboard takes you again into the administrative control plane at the account level. You can think of account as a unique gold image that is tied to a unique infrastructure in a unique region, right? So in this case, Sandbox is my gold image. This is my gold image I have here, right? It is sitting in AWS Northern Virginia, right? So this is one account in Frame. If you are an account administrator, multiple accounts in your Frame environment, those will all show up here in the dropdown. And this is really, the beauty of Frame, in my opinion, right, is the ability to be able to manage, workloads across Azure, right, across AWS, on-prem, on AHV, as well as in GCP, right, all from the same, overall environment. So if I wanted to make a change, let's say I wanted to go to my other demo account, my apps, right, I can click here. This is another account. In this case, this is running Azure in South Central US, right? We have a different set of applications, on this Sandbox VM. And, from here, I can then provision access to users. So that's, easily done by, again, integrating with whatever IDP you want to bring in. So for this account, I have integrated with Google, OAuth. I've also integrated with SAML, and this is Okta in the back end. So we can simply just add permissions, or you can basically push permissions from a higher level. So for example, if I want to give user permissions, I can say, hey, look, I'll choose my provider. In this case, this is, Nutanix demo, which is, Okta in the background. I can say, hey, look, when, group equals, let's say, marketing user, as an example, well, they will become a Launchpad user, right, of apps, right, and hit save. And what apps is would be a Launchpad, and this is where you would provision access to different applications or full desktops. So I can say, hey, look, I'll provision something for ZeeTim, right? I can say we're gonna give them this Launchpad. I can choose what instance pool, like I mentioned, right? We support different instance pools with Frame. So I can say, hey, look, we're going to give them a Edge 8, right? In this case, I can also rename these whatever I wanted to. And then I can select the applications. So I can choose the applications from the list available. So I can say, hey, look, I'm going to give these applications to these users, right? Hit save. And I can group them together as well. I can say, okay, well, I'm going to group these, into different folders by application type, just like you would using your Android phone or your iOS device. I can say, hey, look, this is O365. Save that, hit save. And then I have this new launch pad called ZeeTim. It has these applications available, and it's launching from that Edge 8 device that I've specified, right? And then again, how I get provision access is the users console, and this is how kind of easy it is to provision access in the Frame environment. The last thing I'll kind of show you before I hand things over to Sabir is if you go to the admin console, this is where you would create new accounts with Frame. This is, in this case, I have the customer level is Nutanix demo. So this is the highest level in the hierarchy. Within the customer entity, we have organizations. So this is really good. Think of these as different departments or business units within your customer entity. You can assign different policies at this level. You can assign different infrastructure at this level, right, to deploy to. And then finally, the accounts themselves, those would be within an organization that you deploy to. So if I want to create a new account, I hit create account. I can say, hey, look, I want to deploy this into the ZeeTim organization. I can say this is for webinar, right? And I can choose my provider, right? HV. I can choose an AWS, and you'll see that all my AWS data centers around the world are available for me to deploy to. Same thing with Azure. All my Azure data centers around the world are available for me. And the same thing with GCP. Again, you don't have to integrate all these. This is our test environment, so we have all these integrated, right? Same thing at GCP. Let's say I want to deploy this into Azure. I can choose Azure, and I want to deploy this over, let's say, into West Europe, right, to support Sabir, right? And actually, I'll also say, hey, this is Sabir's, account, right? I can choose what kind of networking, whether to just use ephemeral public IPs within Azure, use a private VNet, right? Or a private VNet within the streaming gateway appliance, which is basically a proxy appliance for external users. And if you choose that, we actually deploy a load balancer for you automatically. So again, all these automation activities or capabilities in the Frame makes it really easy for administrators to deploy Frame without having to be an expert in public cloud or an expert in VDI. I'll choose public network for the sake of time. Hit next. I can choose my my OS. If I have a BYO image, they would show up here as well. I'll just choose Windows 10. Choose your initial instance type, but again, you can change it, always change it later on. So I'll just choose an A2 V2. Choose my disk size for that VM. I'll leave it at 128. And then I'll actually just do persistent desktop because I'm gonna give Sabir his own, let's say, persistent desktop VM, right? And then I'll hit confirm, hit next, and hit create. And what this is doing is this is using, in this case, Nutanix's Azure subscription that we have linked in with Frame, right? And we've done that at the customer level in this case. So if I click on this three-dot icon or kebab icon, go to cloud accounts, right? You'll see that we have these public cloud subscriptions. If I wanted to add a new one, I simply add cloud account, and I would select the provider, let's say AWS. It's just enter the account ID, right? Same thing in Azure and GCP. Really easy to integrate your existing public cloud accounts with Frame and deploy to. I'll exit that. I'll go back, and you'll see if I go back to accounts, it's probably already wrapped up or it's wrapping up. You see Sabir is already done, right? So we have this brand new account called Sabir. It is in the ZeeTim organization. It is in Nutanix demo. It's all the way over in Azure West Europe. I click on this account. This takes me into this brand new dashboard for this new account. And from here, I can configure the applications, configure my gold image, set my settings, right, in terms of policy settings I want for this, lock it down if I want to, integrate it with my Active Directory domain if I wanted to. So all these things done within a single pane of glass, like I talked about, making it really easy for administrators to get up and running with Frame very quickly. So with that,
so you're saying that it's not going to take weeks or months.
No. Yeah, it really just depends at the end of the day. If you have your prereqs in place in terms of a infrastructure perspective, That's what usually takes the longest, is like opening up firewall rules and getting those subscriptions in place. But once you have those prereqs, it makes it really easy to get up and running.
Yeah.
So
Just and just
Yeah.
a question, is there a certain size like of environment where you can start, or can anyone really, even if you have, you're a small engineering firm, 15, 20 users, can I take advantage of Frame?
Yeah, we actually used to. So right now the minimum is 5 users. So that's the minimum. It used to be just 1. We had to change it to 5 because we actually had a lot of a lot of kids in China that were using Frame to play, get around the Great Firewall and play things like Fortnite and stuff like that through Frame because of our high graphics capabilities. And we decided that we didn't really want to have those kind of end users in our environment, so we increased the limit from 1 to 5 to really kind of address that. But yeah, that's the minimum is 5 users.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Cool. All right. So I appreciate that, Z. That was really cool. I mean, very, very simple to put in place. And from a user experience, I mean, it's so easy to choose the apps that you need and really get working. So let me share. I'm going to share my presentation. I've got a few more slides before Sabir can show us the actual product. So let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, a bit about ZeeTim. Can you guys see that?
Yep, you got it.
All right, cool. So just a little bit about ZeeTim. So we are Nutanix Frame ready. The Nutanix Frame program, make sure that quality-wise we achieve the specific requirements to be able to handle the performance and experience that we want to give to the user. So we make sure that we're always up to date with our Frame client, and that we're giving together the best user experience. Our main offering, and what a lot of people know us for, is the Endpoint Solution, and that's where we're going to focus today. So at the top here, you'll see we have a secure operating system. So it's called ZOS. It's a Linux-based operating system. We have a management tool, so you can have thousands of endpoints anywhere in the world, but you can manage them right from our zconf management tool. And then also, if you don't want to buy hardware, you can actually repurpose any kind of x86 device, which is something that we highly recommend. Companies to continue to use laptops, desktops that they currently have until their end of life. And then replace them by hardware options. But you do so by using a solution that we call Z-Transformer. So hardware options, you can even have a USB with our operating system on it, and then boot right from that USB. Have a temporary experience, and then go back to your Windows or Mac or whatever device that you're using. Along with the Endpoint Solution, we have some added value products because we've spent a long time in this end user computing space. We actually come from a system integration background, so a lot of the stuff that we've developed came from real world use cases. So we have developed a printing solution. It sounds, based on what Z showed us with Frame, it's not really a requirement. Maybe there's some things that we can do to allow us to manage all the printers and print jobs centrally. Maybe there is some value that we can offer, but printing is something that we know very well. We have a very good solution for. We have an access solution, so it's a USB key. It acts as a vault. It's protected by a PIN code, but all you need is to enter your USB, put in the PIN code, and then you have access to your environment. It contains all the credentials that you need to, for the applications, websites that you navigate to. As soon as you remove it, there's zero lag. You're off you're disconnected from the session. You can go to another device and start again. So very easy way to move or hot desk from one device to the next. And it can be combined with our ZOTP multi-factor authentication solution. So ZOTP is an on-prem or cloud-based solution, depending on the preference of the customer. And it provides authentication, on our mobile app, by push notification, or we also offer a physical token option. So These are also products that we have. More than happy to give people more information if they're interested in learning more about that. But as I said, today we're going to spend most of our time talking about the endpoint. So the first thing we talk about when we talk about the endpoint is the operating system. Our operating system is called ZOS. It's Linux-based, extremely lightweight. From a hardware perspective, all you need is really like 2 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs of disk space, if that. And the primary objective of the OS is to be ultra secure. It's read-only. It just comes with the minimal packages that you need. So if you're accessing Frame, probably, we have the Frame client. Maybe we'll give you a browser, either Chrome or Firefox. But that's about it. And none of the applications talk to each other. So everything is segregated. And Sabir will show us in the demo, how you can control the packages. Again, updates are regular. So if Frame releases a new client, we will make sure that right away we have it available on our operating system as well. We're also, quite good at, handling things like audio, video, webcams. So we make sure that experience is very smooth and that the endpoint doesn't pose any issue for the end customer. In this slide, you have 2 different types of setups that we have. So you have a thin client experience that you can deliver, or a zero client experience. So the main difference is that in a thin client experience, you can have multiple applications, you can have multiple remote connections, you can have a desktop, a taskbar, similar to like a normal Windows computer. Whereas the zero client experience, it's more of like a kiosk experience where the user turns on the device, and that's all they see is that Nutanix Frame, that environment that Z showed us. Most people, they like the zero client just for simplicity. It's secured, less things, less moving parts. So that's always good. So Sabir will show us during his demo also how to configure thin client, zero client, but it's super easy in the management tool. In terms of hardware, we do provide a hardware. So this on the left side is our ZTX 6002. It's a quad-core machine. It's got many different peripherals. Some people ask us, why do you have a COM port? Why the dual LANs? But we try to be, very future-proof. So when you do a normal desktop refresh, usually it's like 3 to 5 years. With a thin client, you want to double that. So you want to be thinking 6 to 10 years. So a lot of things can change. You might have differences in applications. You might need higher graphics. You might have peripherals that show up that you need to support. So we try to think ahead, to be able to support these things. But at the end of the day, we are hardware agnostic. If you have hardware, if you want to buy new hardware, if there's an all-in-one you like, if there's a laptop you like, or if you have devices laying around today, we allow you to transform those with our Z Transformer product. So Z Transformer is a solution that in 15 minutes you can create a USB with our operating system and then go and use that USB to either boot temporarily from that USB or to completely flash the device and make it run our operating system. A device that runs ZOS, just to learn a little bit about our lingo, it's called a Z term. So when I flash a device, I put the operating system ZOS on it. We call it a Z term. So you can have Z term hardware from us, or you can make your own Z term using your hardware. So again, we try to keep the process, or we try to keep people, from having to buy new hardware if they can avoid it in the beginning, and maybe spend more of their money on the VDI solution, which is good for Z, I guess.
Absolutely. Z loves ZeeTim.
Good. So the last part is our ZConf tool, which is the management tool. So one thing I didn't mention earlier is, and this is actually a differentiator for us, is from our operating system, you cannot do anything. As a user, you can't configure any new connection to Frame or to any other virtual workspace solution. Everything has to be done from our management tool, and that's really coming from a security view. So everything is done from the central management tool. We like to do what's called zero-touch deployments. So you configure a template, you assign it to a group of users based on where they're located, based on their IP. As soon as a device is introduced to the environment, it's gonna pick up the configuration that it needs to have, and so it's automatic. There's not much that the administrator has to worry about. Getting on the phone and telling the user how to do it. It's really zero touch. We'll go through some of the features of the management, but we have a tool for which is it's a Windows executable for configuring the devices, configuring these groups and templates and such. And then we have something called the Web Management Console, from which you can get more of your reporting. The Web Management Console is more of a support or help desk tool. So it gives you visibility into all the devices, what's the last heartbeat, information about those devices, serial numbers, IPs, all that kind of stuff. It also allows you to be able to remote in through VNC to support a user, to restart devices, to wake them on LAN, to turn them off. So very good from I guess, support tool. The last component is we talked, today's conversation is about hybrid users, remote users. So we have something called the gateway, which allows us to securely support those users. So you don't need a VPN to get to those users. So we have a gateway, which is included with our management tool. One other thing about ZConf is it's multi-tenant friendly. So if you can, for example, if you're an MSP, you have multiple customers, it's easy to segment them. If you're a large company with different groups, it's easy to segment them and also assign certain groups to specific administrators. It's all easily done inside this management tool. Okay, so just a few things that I wanted to mention before I let Sabir actually take us into the product and demo it. One very important differentiator for us is that we license in a very simple way. We have a central license server, which the endpoints they connect to, and it's only the device that are turned on or connected that consume the licenses. So I can have 1,000 repurposed devices, only 100 are turned on at the same time. I only consume 100 licenses. So it's a concurrent device subscription model. It's a yearly subscription, or you can opt for multiple years. And everything is included: the operating system, the management tool, the gateway. You don't have to think about, well, what if there's a version update or this thing or the other. Everything is, is part of that solution. You just have to worry about the subscription, and also support is included. So you'll always have access to speaking with somebody that is, that understands your pains. So this slide, it touches on a few of the advantages from a solution like ZeeTim, but I think the ones that stand out are security. So securing that endpoint, making sure that the endpoint is no longer an area that you have to worry about. No, it's not an attack surface that can be breached. And then also the easier management for administrators. Let's move away from the patching and all that, but also via our tool, one of our key focus is to make sure that the administration is simple. We don't want to create additional layers of complexity. We don't want to make our tool to manage difficult. And then the user experience. Users are becoming more and more demanding. We have to make it easy and simple, which I think we make the experience dummy proof that they just have access to what they need, and just get them into the Frame environment. Okay, so that said, let's hop into the demo, Sabir.
Yes. Hi everyone. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Z, for all this capabilities of Frame and ZeeTim products. So now I'm going to dive into the demo. I will talk about the management console, which is called zconf. So just as Omar said, it's a client server. It's a client server application. So the server has a database and everything in data center. And I will just show you the client where I mean what you will use in your everyday life as an admin of these devices to manage them and to configure them and to deploy them also. So let me just share you my screen. Here we go. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
Yeah, great. So here, I mean, this is the zconf client, the management console client. You can see here. So it's a role-based, I mean, access control tool. So I'm just connected as an admin here, so I can see there's plenty of devices here, plenty of groups here. So just let me show you that. Okay, if I log out and log in as a regular user, then I will be able to see only. So I will be able to see only some of the devices I am allowed to manage. So I guess you understand that how it works. Okay, so groups here on the left part, you can see groups here. So these are groups and subgroups of devices. We use these groups to manage the devices. On each group, you have some rights. So an admin can manage some groups or some devices into the groups. We use that groups also to configure the devices and using templates. We have like templates like GPOs. Okay, I think you are familiar with that. We use a template to put all the configuration we need on a device and apply that template into a group. As soon as the device enter that group or subgroups, all the templates will apply to the device and the device is configured. So we use that mechanism, I mean, to deploy new devices. So it's like a zero-touch deployment. You just take a brand new device, just a repurposed device or a brand new physical device from us ZeeTim, just plug it on the network, and it will restart once, and you are set up. Okay, you will get the configuration you will supposed to have. So of course, I mean, depending on your IP address, depending of some other configuration, we will automatically add the device into one group or subgroup. Okay, so this is really how it is based here. So here we can see some devices. So I have just managed one device. So you can see one devices here. Device is protected by SSH server there. So I mean, before managing it, we need to connect it. So of course, you can connect all of them at once, but I just have to double click here and just connect it. So the connection is made through to a SSH server using certificates, of course. So I mean, it's quite secure and safe. And here I have loaded all the configuration of a device into that application. Then I can do some changes there. I can use it to create template. Okay, just right click here and oh, sorry. I can just use that to create a template, pick a configuration I need for that template. If I want to, I mean, share the new DNS servers or any other, I mean, the new frame, the new frame URL, I can just pick it up from that device, create a template, and send it to a group or all the groups, and this new configuration will be applied to them. So it's very granular. It's really like GPOs. You can really pick up, I mean, very granular configuration and send it to the user. So this is about the templates. You can have plenty of templates and apply to groups with different configuration there. So just a few words about the configuration here. As Omar said, we have a thin client mode. So thin client mode, we propose some local applications there. So local applications are browsers, Chrome, Firefox, Edge. Nutanix Frame client, and other clients we have there. And for a browser, you can have a startup URL. So just configure a startup URL here. And as soon as you will start a browser on the device, it will connect to the startup URL. So of course, as Z said, it's very easy to connect a Frame desktop or Frame application, Frame published application. Just need one URL. And you will see that it's very, very simple to connect to your Frame environment. Just one single URL. And this is the only thing you have to configure on a browser or on the client. I'll show you that. Here, this is quite important. This is the server, ZConf server URL. This URL can be deployed using DHCP, of course. Okay, so you can put that in a DHCP option. So when you start a new device, it will pick up this information and connect directly to the device, where all the templates will be deployed to the device, and the device is configured. So this is the way, I mean, we do zero-touch deployment. Okay. So let me just go here. Menu here. The menu tab is quite interesting here. This is where you choose. This is the thin client mode. This is where you, design the desktop. Start menu, which icons do you want to show in the start menu? Which desktop? You can just select the applications here. Configure the applications. Okay, and then just select. Okay, this application can. Okay, let's start it. This application with the session, power off when it's shut down, reboot the thin client when it's shut down. We can start in active in kiosk mode, and so on. Put some information there, change the name, and so on. And then just push it either on the desktop or on the thin client. Other tab I think interesting for you will be packaging tab. So you can see here all our packages, all the local applications that are started on the device when it boots. So you can use it to optimize the way it boots. So if you need only one single application, just you can, avoid all these devices to start like it's services, okay? And then you will boot up very quickly, and it will be very, very, secure way to have a secure desktop without having something useless running into that device. Update of these packages is done, very easily. Just put the new packages on the server, and all these packages will be downloaded using some rules you set up. That means, let's say, only use that amount of bandwidth, only update this amount of device at a time, or only update at that specific time, and all your packages will be deployed. So it's really, very painless to update a device. It can be a full operating system or one single package here. Okay. Just I told you the way we can what we need to configure Nutanix. Only one single thing. It's a startup URL, and this will directly goes to configure the Nutanix client, which is installed on the device. As soon as you start this client, you'll be connected there, log in, and you will have your environment shown. Okay. Let me go to maybe to security. So here it's very simple. You can just add your own certificates here. Certificate authorities over there. We have a Java runtime there, so you can add some exception. You can add the trusted certificates to Java key store. We talk about ZKey, okay, this little USB key which is a key vault, which is a password vault where you can store all your password and provide it to your remote applications. I guess, yeah, all these one are proxy, VPN. We have a VPN client there. These are RDS, Trix, VMware package. We have printing. So we have a printing solution which is also included there. You can have, any kind of printer. You can have a IBM AS400 printer. You can print on it. You can have like any kind of printer. We can really use you can print through all the protocols you can find to print. and send any document to any printer over there. So this is a first part. I mean, this of our client there, and as Omar said, we have this web management. It's a web-based, I mean, console, web management console, and this is done really for the help desk folks. Just in the dashboard, you can see, I mean, all the devices that are there, how many are on, how many are coming from the LAN, how many are coming from the WAN, and so on. And these are all the models here. So of course, you will see here that these are repurposed devices. These are our little square devices, 6002. These are devices that are just have booted using the using an USB key where the operating system is installed. You can follow any deployment from here. Okay, you will see here, I mean, all these, the number of devices you have deployed, when, and if new devices were deployed, so you can follow there. Interesting things, I think, for the help desk people will be that you can see here the same tree as I show you here. I mean, yeah, on that device, because it's connecting to the same database, and from here you can just see the device. One of them I have prepared here, which is ZeeTim 001. I can have all this information here. Nice information are heartbeat, last heartbeat still there, when it was created, IP address, of course, so on. You can get more detail, of course, from here, serial number and so on. And you can just, you can also shut down it, restart it, take control of it. You can also work on LAN if it's allowed in your network. You can use this tool to work on to work on LAN these devices. So that's this console. Since I am just a user, I have very I mean few rights here. If I go back as an admin, sorry, here, I guess you'll be able to see more from that. Okay, here I am, so I can see plenty of stuff here. Go back to this console here as an admin. Of course, I could have done them from here also, but and you'll see here, I mean, all this security, where I can create all this session, all this authorization. Or, I mean, I can have just the analytics. Okay, where the ZOS is stored, where the package is stored. Okay, you can have that. Sorry, these are the API stats we have here, all of them. Let me show you what. Yeah, you can see here all the actions done on a device. You can just follow who has done what here, on that device. This is what I have done today. You can send here, okay, I have update with password, I have send config, everything I've done from here. So yeah, basically this is how you can manage devices. These devices can be again in your LAN, outside your LAN, and you can have thousands of devices managed by these tools. Very simple, very active, and client server database. That's it. So
Cool.
I guess yeah.
Very good here. I think we're running. We're actually past the time a little bit, so I think we need to wrap it up. But I guess if anybody wants to dive deeper, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that we could have shown on both demos.
Sorry, I can show you just one is, if you allow me, just one single thing. Here I am. I am connected to a Frame desktop here using the device. I'm just show it. And this is a device running in a virtual machine. So this is the Fin client as I showed right now. So we know these are all the clients here, and we have this Frame client running already here. Oh, sorry. And I have a desktop running in a Frame session, and I can show you here that just adapting here, and I can show. I mean, I can run Excel from here. It's like as if Excel was local here, and very, very fast experience I'm running here.
Yep.
Please, Omar. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great, Sabir. So I guess only a couple of more slides I wanted to show very quickly. I think let me just share my screen again.
Yeah, or I can share it as well. I think the last slide is like one of my slides. So
okay,
so,
go for it. I think Sabir has to stop sharing.
Sabir, stop sharing. I'll share my screen real quick. Perfect. Yeah, that was a great demo. Thank you so much, Sabir. Okay, cool. So yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, and thank you for those that are still with us. Yeah, so when you look at, ZeeTim, you look at Frame, both solutions are on the end user computing spectrum. On our end, right, our strength is really around user experience. On the ZeeTim end, it's really focused around security, which Omar and Sabir talked about. And it really comes down to, we share a lot of the same common denominators between our two solutions, right? We're simple, scalable, flexible. We're kind of showing that to you guys in the demo. And it really comes to how do we come together, right, and provide a more seamless solution, not only simplicity, scalability, flexibility, but also marry that user experience that Frame really delivers, being able to provide 60 frames per second, 4K support, GPU support, right, delivering that native Windows desktop and providing that premium intuitive user experience, but also marry that with the end-to-end security that ZeeTim Solutions offers. And that's really what ZeeTim and Frame is all about when we say it's better together. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'll let Omar wrap it up with next steps and how you can try this for yourself. Omar?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the proof is in the pudding. So I think if you guys like what you see, we make it very easy to try it out. I know Frame has a 30-day trial, unlimited users. We have 10 free licenses, so you can request instructions on how to get your 10 free licenses from us. Just ping us a message, and test it out. I mean, get a Frame account going. Set up the endpoint. You can repurpose any device that you have, or you can even just do it on a VM like Sabir was showing, and connect to your Frame environment from ZeeTim Endpoint. So you have our contacts there. We also have the $200 prize. So after this, we will randomly select a winner from the attendees, the people that actually showed up. So we will pick somebody, and we'll have our lucky winner as well. But feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to give you guys more information about the solutions. And I thank you guys for attending once again, and we'll hope to reconnect in the near future.